From BYU to Baylor, your favorite school is officially broke. $20 million a year going directly to the athletes. Title IX, gone. NIL, gone. This is an insane Locked On Big 12, Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Baylor crossover. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. That's Cameron Stewart, the most knowledgeable man on this topic. That's why he's here today. He typically hosts Locked On Baylor. Thanks for making both of our shows your first listen every single day. We start with the House settlement. That's it. It's over. Schools will pay athletes starting this year $20 million+ per season to play their sports at their respective universities. And guess what? It's not evenly distributed among softball, football, equestrian. No, 80% will go to your favorite football player, and that money comes from the school's revenue. They're going to lose $20 million a year in revenue. If you're BYU, this hurts. If you're UCF, this hurts. If you're Baylor, it hurts. If you're Iowa State, you're standing on the side of the road begging for money to support this. It also means NIL becomes mostly obsolete and that Title IX doesn't really exist in this realm. Where we'll start with that. Then we'll really get in the weeds on NIL and how it's adjusted. Then we'll really get in the weeds with Title IX and how that's just not going to apply at all here. Give all of the money to the men if you really want to. Cam, bombshell. It's the biggest news maybe in college sports history. You are now an employee of your university, $20 million a year down the drain. On top of that, the NCAA owes $2.8 billion in back pay to athletes who could not receive NIL. So, hey, who was the West Virginia basketball player that was really good?
Yeah, that one, Jerry West. Yep.
He's like a prison guard now. He's like a prison instructor or a school vice principal.
Joe Mazzulla, if he loses to another inferior team, yeah.
He might receive a $500,000 check for lost NIL money. And who has to pay that? Colleges themselves. You're all losing money with this House settlement, and now college athletes, might I say, football players, are going to benefit out the wazoo.
Yeah, I mean, you make them more like independent contractors, Drake, which is like being employees, but without the most of the benefits of being employees, but they are going to get paid. It's the most seismic shift in college sports since Title IX, probably 50 years ago. There's nothing that's been bigger than this. I mean, this changes fundamentally all that we know about college sports and all that it's built on. And really what this is it's the end of the NCAA. Like what are they doing here? They're chaperones who, can't rip the alcohol out of the kids' hands at prom. They can't do anything. It's so seismic. It's so wild. We knew that something like this was coming, right? For really the last few years. And of course, the last few months, this thing has been in limbo. They needed to go back to the drawing board to find out how to pay back all these athletes. And by the way, if you graduated in 2015, get screwed. We don't owe you a penny, brother. We don't owe you, or sister. We don't owe you anything. But 2016, yeah, you're good. It's crazy. And all the consensus out of all of this, Drake, all the people in the know about this are saying the same thing. And this is like, we're not trying to be doomsday about it, but the rich will get richer. The poor will get poorer. You mentioned it. Like we're just subtracting game day revenue. And there's only so many sports and really only so many games within so many sports that actually generate revenue for your university. $20.5 million of it is not going down the drain, but being taken away from your surplus every single year. And that number's only going to go up. It's going to be fascinating to see how some of these smaller level to mid-major, and I use that loosely, just not anything outside of the top 10 football programs.
You, Wake Forest, you're being included in this.
Yes, Baylor's being included in this. Oklahoma State, you're being included in this. TCU, you're being included in this too. It's going to be fascinating to see how these schools and how these athletic departments answer this. I mean, in some ways it does level it out, but in a lot of other ways it does not. And I don't know. This is a totally new landscape we're dealing with.
We haven't constructed a system where the NCAA says we're going to pay you, or the government says we're going to pay you, or where there's some sort of, hey, if you're a taxpayer-funded university, we will assist you in this endeavor. Instead, again, you, John Smith, bought row 7, seat B at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. You're paying the university to pay the backup tight end. That's where this money is coming from.
Prices are going to go up, by the way.
Not only do those prices go, if you or a loved one really like beer, you are in luck, because every university, probably not named BYU, in this country just got on the phone with Anheuser-Busch and said, hey, we would love to have a conversation about selling your great product at our at all of our stadiums. Equestrian, grab a Michelob. Women's tennis match. Ever heard of Miller High Life? We'll get exotic with it. They're going to do that to find more ways to make new revenue. Jamie Pollard has been very public about it at Iowa State. He's like, hey, we don't have money. We need a lot of help. How can we get that help? They're going to have to start selling alcohol. So that's not your cup of tea. If it's not your glass of beer, it's about to be. You get ready to learn beer sales. But at universities, schools will have to get creative. And again, now we'll get into this with the NIL conversation. Again, you're going to ask yourself, how does this benefit anyone involved? It only can through evening things out amongst the Power Four, the haves. And there are haves in the Big 12. Baylor will be a have. Oklahoma State will find a way. Iowa State will ultimately find a way. Every school has opted into this. They will be the haves. And that's where this could work to your advantage. Yes, and to go off that, by the way, there are have-nots that are in those top two, Power 2 conferences, if you want to call them that. It's they're going to figure it out. They've obviously had some time to do this. And I know Mac Rhodes has said in the past, he hasn't like outright been like, yeah, we love revenue sharing, but he's said out there like, we're going to make this work. Like Baylor as an athletic department is not going to go away, but it's just really, it's going to be fascinating to see how this works outside of football. Because, I think you said it, like, this is all going to go to football, right? 80% of the 20 million, that's quick math. Like you're getting $15 or $16 million a year going just to football. Everybody else figure it out. And that's, by the way, using the example of Baylor, which is a program or athletics department that has two pretty good basketball programs year in, year out, that has invested a lot of money into that has just put up a brand new arena for that. That now becomes pretty cloudy as to how much money they're getting, whether they can compete at the highest level. It's going to be, you're right. There are a lot of haves in this conference. It's just going to be different than it's ever been before for these astute athletic programs that we have in the Big 12 to continue to compete at the highest level. Yeah, certainly. Coming up, NIL, the reason that this might work well for us is because NIL is going to effectively go away. This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Baylor crossover. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Why? Because FanDuel is where I go to make money. You say, oh, how? College baseball's on there, man. I just go in there and I say, hey, Arkansas Razorbacks, I like it. NBA playoffs. It's the whole championship series right now. The cup or the award that they give out. Just go and be like, hey, Thunder, money on them. They win, money in my pocket. But before tip-off live, it's all right there. Which players are showing up in the biggest moments? SGA. Or, in college baseball, it's the one guy that you like. You put money on them, and you can come back right into your pocket. Those live prop bets also are huge mid-game. Hey, this guy's hot. He's heating up. I can put money on him. And you get a $200 bonus in bonus bets to add to the excitement if your first $5 bet wins. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get that $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports partner of the NBA. Cameron Stewart, NIL is gone. This is the death of NIL. Crazy. CBS reports this, that due to the House settlement going through, all NIL deals will run through a clearinghouse run by Deloitte to ensure a fair market value. So no longer can your backup tight end make $1 million. Now it's going to be much more even across the board. And what's crazy, this is a direct quote from CBS. Additionally, the NCAA has the right to prohibit NIL compensation from a group it classifies as, quote, associated entities or individuals, which would seem to mean boosters. Now, this is CBS going, we don't No one really knows what that verbiage means. We're pretty sure it means if you're rich and like your favorite team, you can't give them NIL money anymore, which, okay, if you're BYU, terrible news. You have the owner of the Utah Jazz in your back pocket. If you're Baylor, you have the Fudge family or former owner of the Astros, Drayton McClain, in your back pocket. If you're the Tyson family at Arkansas, this is Armageddon. You are surrender Cobra.
Oklahoma State, Tech.
If you're RIP in peace, T. Boone Pickens, who did Oklahoma State. Honest, you know what? Let's go there. T. Boone Pickens' death, post that family hasn't given a lot to Oklahoma State. Now they can't catch up at NIL. They're struggling hard. They're going, hey, whoa. If $20 million a year means that we put money in our players' pockets and now the entire playing field of NIL is evened, we have a fighter's chance. This is huge for Cincinnati. It's huge for Iowa State, for UCF. The schools that can't compete with Ohio State or Texas in NIL, things just got a whole lot better because your biggest donors can no longer fill the pockets of your student athletes.
Yeah, I would also say this. Maybe this is the cynic in me, but it's like, do we think this new CSC is going to really crack down on Phil Knight at Oregon? Or are there going to be other ways around it? I got a bunch of European soccer examples coming to me that I won't bore you with right now of ways to get around this. But the CSC, by the way, is maybe the most fascinating part of this to me. It's the College Sports Commission, which is basically policing all of those things, right? So you go through Deloitte to pay these guys, and then this commission has to look at every deal and wonder if the verbiage is fair market value. Don't we love that? Don't we love complete objective wording there, like fair market value? Because, like, what's the fair market value of Arch Manning or Bryce Underwood coming into their college football careers? They haven't played a single snap. Quinn Ewers, remember that controversy at Texas? Oh, he's not taking anything from the collective. He's not taking a dime. He's getting all these, sponsorship opportunities independent of the collective, collecting $1 million at Ohio State before he even steps foot on the field for the Buckeyes. Like, that's what's crazy. Brian Sealy, Drake, you ever heard of this guy, Brian Sealy?
I don't think I have.
This is so college football, man. So I had neither, let's be fair. But he was working investigations for MLB. He's been doing it since 2014. MLB noted like real good PR the last 10 years, doing a real good job with all their investigations. One of the big cases he was on, the Shohei Ohtani betting scandal from last year, which famously we have gotten plenty of answers from all the responsible parties. It's all been cleared up. Everyone's been punished and everything. It's not that the best, most marketable player in their entire sport has just had this kind of swept under the rug. Like, does that not scream college football to you? Like, what? Oh man, but it's Kirby Smart. I don't know. We'll throw someone else under the bus. Like, that is perfect for college football and really the SEC and the Big Ten to have a guy like this that's ensuring fair market value across these sponsorship deals, these NIL, whatever you want to call them.
And by the way, we decided
enforcing the salary cap
as a country. We'll have Deloitte do it. Like KPMG wouldn't answer the calls, buddy. I have Goldman Sachs wasn't there. They weren't at the meeting. I have buddies who were KA at Baylor or ATO at Baylor, and that now they are running the show at Deloitte. I can tell you how this is going to go, and it's not. They'll be ripping Zinn at 12:30 at their desk with a six-pack of Coors underneath their chair, and maybe you like that. But
will it be benefiting the Baylor Bears though? Because I'm willing to hear this out.
Yeah, they're the ones. Guys, I mean, they've got the vapes, if that's what the kids are doing now in the bathroom there. Here's where it really gets crazy. This is nuts. Per reports, Deloitte told ACC officials that 90% of existing NIL contracts with public companies would have been approved. Hey, Teeter wants to give you $1 million. Cool. Dog, Teeter can do that. You're good to go there. More than 70% of deals with booster collectives would have been denied. Looking at you, the Royal Blue Club at BYU. Looking at you, the Matador Club at Texas Tech. Looking at you, a guy like David Kay at Baylor, high-profile figure at Baylor, who was hired to run the entire Baylor NIL collective. 70% of what you do doesn't exist anymore. It's illegal now. It can't be done because our Lord and Savior, Deloitte, the accounting firm, says, no, all these schools have put gajillion resources into building their own collectives. And now a majority of that, because they're mostly booster funded, will go away.
Yeah, they're going to get rid of them. Yeah.
Most people aren't talking about how massive that is.
Yeah. I mean, all these schools are going to start to go in-house, which I think more often than not is going to not be as good as it was with a booster collective, just from a money standpoint.
Yeah.
It's just,
you spent the last totally 4 years, like, handshake, fist bump, go to lunch every day with Drayton McClain, your biggest donor at Baylor. And now it's like, hey, Drayton, we can't even call you. Like, you can't be involved in this internal. This is completely internal. You can't be involved in the process at all.
Yeah. Which I'm sure means all the boosters will go away. I think there won't be any way they will get their money there. It's almost like one of those things where you're making it slimier than it already was by doing that, right? Because again, do you think Drayton McClain's going to be shut out of this thing? You think Phil Knight's going to be really shut out of this thing, or the guys at the Matador Club? Probably not. But there's just going to be other ways that they're going to have to go around that. It's that was the stat that was so damning to me from all these initial reports of like, well, then now what? Because we're just getting to a point where a lot of these programs are getting used to a collective and finding ways to pay players in the 2024, early part of 2025 model of paying players. Now you're like, no, you need to pay more players. Everyone needs to get paid, right? Essentially, we're going to take more money from your revenue, and you've got to figure out how to pay them. It's a tough one, man. It's going to be for a lot of schools too. Like, again, we listed some of the big time, the collectives, right? Your Tennessees, your Floridas, your Texas Techs here in the Big 12. But for each one of those, there are 4 other Power 4 programs that are like a Baylor or a Kansas State, and they're kind of just getting up to speed on it, and they're doing well enough to keep good teams on the field. Well, now you got to find out a new way to do it.
Yeah. Which means
starting next month, by the way.
If you're Cincinnati and you look around Cincinnati, you go, we've never been good at this, which is good. No, we never built a structure.
Starting with a slate here. Yeah. This is good. We didn't waste our time with that.
We don't have to deconstruct anything. We were bad at the NIL thing, and that's a blessing in disguise because it's not real anymore. It's a fugazi. Coming up, Title IX, gone. Not a thing. Locked on Big 12, Locked on Baylor. If you are a proponent of Title IX, especially when it comes to fair and equal pay amongst collegiate athletes, that's gone. Not a thing.
You lost.
You're $20 million. The schools will pay the athletes every year. 80%, many estimate, will go just to football. That doesn't mean that the women's basketball players, the softball players, the women's tennis players are going to be paid. So I have a sister going to Baylor next year. Lila has a full scholarship to play softball at Baylor. That scholarship, she's going to get some money doled out there. But she could be the very best player on the team, world beating. And there will be a football player, 3rd string wide receiver, making 3 times as much. Why? Because they're going to give 80% of this $20 million into it. And look, a lot of this is confusing. This could change. You read the CBS article about the House settlement that just came through, and they say, here's a quote, is rev share legally binding? And the response from CBS is, no one really knows. We don't really know. Yeah. This is a contract or what this is. So all of this is up in the air, but they also say of Title IX, it remains unclear how Title IX will factor into the model, though at least some funds will likely, here's the wild, it says, though at least some funds will likely be directed toward women's sports. That's it. Like, congrats.
Just by probability. Probably some of it's going to go. Yeah.
We went from, women's NIL is rising college. Basketball players are signing massive deals. Softball players, Nigel Kennedy signing a massive deal. Just kidding. You can't sign those massive deals with boosters anymore. You're going to be paid through the university. And by the way, the university doesn't have to pay you.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue the biggest casualty of this settlement is women's sports. Yeah. The rise of that over the last few years, we're getting to a spot where, I'm in a bar the other night watching the Stanley Cup final, and half the TVs have the Women's College World Series on, and you're watching $1 million pitcher, that's a big thing. And days later, actually it was that day, it was Friday, you get this settlement coming down that doesn't eliminate women's college sports, but absolutely stunts the growth of it. Like Gary Coleman's the growth of this thing. It's done. In a lot of ways, you got to think of how many schools are weighing it. again, we've said this about women's sports a bunch. As much as it's gotten better the last few years, it's still not generating a ton of revenue, right? And so now you're like, our hands are tied. We can't do that anymore if we want to be competitive in football. And we'll see how Title IX factors into this. But as far as I know, Title IX is really only ever enforced kind of the inverse of the sport. I don't have a better way of putting that, but like what you give to men's basketball goes to women's basketball as well. And you'll see it with hockey and baseball versus softball.
Numbers too. If you have a football team, you probably have an equestrian team for numbers.
Right. But there's no inverse of football. Like think about that. Maybe I'm just thinking of this too simply, but you could just put a ton of money into football, which, as we've talked about, everyone's going to do. And it's like, well, it's no women's football team to worry about. You know what I mean? It's a crazy part of this. I mean, the whole thing's crazy.
Well, they could say, because already it was, hey, you need to have an equal number of scholarships. So most schools would have, like, they would cut baseball in favor of now having more women.
That's the next thing.
And they would have softball. Yeah. And we'll get there. People are going to cut sports. Or they would have, Baylor has equestrian to keep as many, so they can even up the number of scholarships with equestrian as they do for acrobatics and tumbling. Also a very good way.
No men's soccer. Yeah.
Yep. So. Very good way of keeping that ratio even. But with this, it's not 1-to-1. With this, it's, I don't know, man. Give 100% to football. We don't care. And again, as a guy whose sister is going to Baylor University on a full scholarship to play softball, you can't do it 50-50. Like, I love my sister. No one will. Yeah. And I love softball. And I equestrian, I didn't know that I would enjoy equestrian so much when I was in college. Like, it's just quirky and unique and fun. The issue is football turns the lights on at the equestrian facility, but it does at men's tennis too, at baseball too. So you have to put the money into football. Otherwise, your university fails.
Yeah. That's something, like, coming back to what we said earlier in the show. It's like, there's really only 1.5 revenue sports in college sports, right? It's football, and it's really the NCAA tournament in men's basketball. Like, those are the things you actually make money off of. And you said it. I mean, all these, pretty much every school that you're thinking of, even Kentucky, who is not good at football but is at basketball, like, even the Kentuckys and the UConns of the world are going to have to put a majority of their money into football so that everyone else can kind of enjoy the riches of it. Like, that is the end all be all of this. And we know this has all been driven by football anyway. Everything, conference realignment, NIL, transfer portal, and this settlement, it's all driven by football. And yeah, I think you're going to start to see some schools, maybe even in this conference, which is doing well, a conference that is of a Power 4, that is doing pretty darn well and sustaining itself. There are a lot of schools in it that are probably going to have to look at cutting some programs.
Yes. Big, like, some of your favorite programs. Men's tennis. Ooh. Do we need that at Cincinnati?
Like, I saw this tweet the other day, someone covering Kansas State, apologies, whoever it was, I don't remember the name on it, but it was like, man, Kansas State should really be picking up softball. Look at all the talent here in the state. It's like, that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen anymore.
You're going to lose money.
Yes.
The NCAA.
The tennis and the soccer and swimming for the schools that have that. Probably too bad, so sad.
I went to more tennis matches than maybe anything in college. I loved it. But it's not going to exist. It exists in a lot of these universities. Now, another great quote from the CBS article about the House settlement is, while players will be compensated directly for, I keep calling them employees because, let's face it, they are. While players will be compensated directly for participating in college athletics, potentially through contracts worth 7 figures or more, they say, they still won't be classified as employees. Instead, their compensation is expected to resemble that of independent contractors, which, again, employee. I'm an employee of Locked On. I'm not salaried. I'm an independent contractor. And, buddy, when April comes around and Uncle Sam says, what you got in them pockets you ain't been paying me, Mr. 1099? Like, if you know anything about taxes, you're telling a 19-year-old, oh, yeah, we gave you $200,000 as a 1099 individual contractor. You owe $70,000 of that to the United States government. And they're going, but I already spent it all. And you're like, well, it's April. We need $70,000 from you.
And if you don't cough it up for us, you're going to jail.
We're going to send you to prison for a while.
You enjoyed all those months of not having to pay taxes on it without even knowing it. Now it's time.
So we're talking surrender Cobra. The real surrender Cobra person here is whoever has been designated as your NIL collective internal director. That man or woman who is in charge of filing in line all the boosters to make sure they're all going to show up and pay their money to your NIL fund. Now that job is defunct, congrats. You're now the tax liaison to all of our student athletes who owe hundreds of thousands of dollars oh my gosh, I got chills. Of the $20 million, $7 million. $7 million these schools will pay in revenue to the student athletes will just go back to the government. This is insane.
The great American game, baby.
Winning. We can't stop winning.
Uncle Sam always winning this thing.
And again, that's why you will see some of your favorite sports cut is just the utter confusion and chaos here. The second that Laborg Demosatov of the men's tennis team at Tulsa is in the whole 50 grand. Tulsa's going to look around and go, this is it. Can the whole thing. No more men's tennis at Tulsa.
Literally. And like for individual athletes in some of those sports, golf, tennis, like you're going to have to weigh that way differently. I know this from challengers, right? Like you're going to be like, you know what? I am just going to take my shot at going pro. I could make 100,000 here at this school, but I'm going to have to cough up 35 grand during the year or whatever it is. Like that then changes how you're recruiting and all this. Like that's all of a sudden isn't a very desirable destination, I don't think.
Right to jail. Right to your chest. You are in like
under the jail.
Georgia's going to have to hire a really crazy amount of people, like 1-to-1 player to tax personnel to CPA, to make sure that at the end of the year, their players, their athletes know exactly what to do with that 1099 form that they've never heard of, and they will file taxes for the first time in their life. Otherwise, things are going to go really wrong. This is not the last conversation we'll have on this week on this show or your show or anybody's show. It's, we'll talk about like major storylines over the course of the offseason. Shedeur Sanders to the college football playoff, even Jake Retzloff, right? Those are big things people are talking about across the country. This one's not, and it's not driving a lot of the media attention because it's confusing and hard to understand. If there's one thesis at the end of this is the craziest thing, the biggest thing, the wildest change to ever happen to college football, to happen to college athletics in general. And what you need to understand is it is going to foundationally change the way you view this sport or any sport at the collegiate level. No longer amateur, now just collegiate for the rest of time.
Correct.
All right. That's Cameron Stewart.
No better way to say it.
This has been It Always Will Be. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.